I have been a really big proponent of LBRY, basically since I first heard about it, which would have been maybe a year and a half ago at this point. So if you don't know, LBRY is a media distribution protocol with a focus around decentralized media sharing, and it actually makes use of a blockchain, but it doesn't try to store the videos on the blockchain. Basically, it uses the blockchain as a, I guess, database that you can't delete anything from, and then hosts the videos in a similar fashion to something like BitTorrent, and then points to the videos with the blockchain. Now, up until this point, there's been a couple of different clients to actually access LBRY. So there's been the desktop client, which is basically the full freedom client where LBRY Inc. doesn't really have control over what you actually upload. You can go and upload basically anything to that, and you can actually see anything uploaded on the network as well. Then there's been Odysee. Odysee is more like the direct YouTube competitor, which is far, far more centralized than the desktop app, so it can also support things that just wouldn't be possible in a peer-to-peer manner, like, say, doing live streaming and then actually having it being pointed to correctly by the blockchain and having transcoded videos and things like that. Then there was also the mobile apps as well. Now, the mobile apps, at least up until this point, have pretty much just been a mobile version of the web app. They haven't really been anything special. They will change a bit going forward, though. And then there's been this weird odd one out. There's been LBRY TV. Now, LBRY TV was the original web app before Odysee actually launched, and it was sort of a mixture between the desktop app and the Odysee client, which had just been released. But at least in the current environment that LBRY exists in, it didn't really make any sense to actually exist, and it also did have a bit of a confusing name. So what's going to be happening is, going forward, LBRY TV is going to be retired. Now, if you are someone who does use LBRY TV, this doesn't mean you're going to lose your account or your LBC, because all of that stuff is stored on the back end. Basically, LBRY TV was just a different way you could actually view LBRY, and nothing else is going to change. So if you were using LBRY TV, you can go and use your current account and just log directly into Odysee. Exactly the same thing that would happen if you just went and logged into the mobile app. At this stage, nothing else major is going to change. So you're going to have the Odysee web app, then you're going to have LBRY desktop, which I have a feeling the name may change, as we're going to see when we start going through some of the reasons why they've done this. And then there will be the two mobile apps as well. The LBRY mobile app, which is going to start more emulating what the desktop app does, but on mobile. And then the Odysee app, which at this stage is only available on iOS, but is currently being worked on for Android as well. And that's going to be more like the mobile experience of the Odysee web app. So let's see why they're actually doing this. So the first reason they have is that it confuses people what LBRY actually is. So since LBRY was created, it's always had this branding issue where you've had the LBRY protocol, you've had LBRY Inc., and then later on you had LBRY TV. And all of these things were called LBRY. And the big confusion that happened is a lot of people who started joining the platform after the initial beta testing started conflating LBRY TV and the LBRY protocol as if they were the exact same thing, which makes perfect sense because they're probably used to something like YouTube, where the YouTube API and YouTube itself are very much tied together. So by making Odysee the main focus application, you have this clear distinction between the protocol and the application to actually view the protocol. So this is very similar to, say, how you have Matrix, and then you have clients like, say, Element, or you have ActivityPub, and then you have things like Mastodon and PeerTube. And while we don't have any third-party clients at this point, at least from the best of my knowledge, by having this clear distinction between the protocol and the application, it eases the developer's job at explaining what their client actually is. Because if people think that LBRY TV and LBRY are the exact same thing, you might have some people thinking that this third-party application is just somehow copying LBRY. Next up, they say that Odysee is a much more user-friendly product, and they mention that on the Odysee website they have a much higher user return rate compared to what they have over on LBRY TV. Now, they don't go into explaining why this is actually the case, but I do have my own explanation for it. So, every single crypto platform out there has the exact same issue. It doesn't matter what platform it is. All of them have this obsession with sticking your crypto wallet and your crypto prices directly in your face. And while that is going to be useful for a power user, for someone who's very new to crypto and very new to the platform, it is very overwhelming when you have no idea what those numbers are supposed to be. Odysee tries to present these numbers in a far more concise way, and where it can, it actually provides explanations about what the numbers actually mean. For example, you can actually go and provide a boost to your account, and that sort of boosts up where you are inside of the algorithm, and it provides a little level notification here telling you how much of an effect that boost actually is going to have. Odysee tries to present these numbers in a far more concise way, and where it can, it actually provides explanations about what the numbers actually mean. For example, you can actually go and provide a boost to your account, and that sort of boosts up where you are inside of the algorithm, and it provides a little level notification here telling you how much of an effect that boost actually is going to have. It doesn't go into the exact numbers, but it doesn't need to. It just needs to provide you with some indication of what's happening. Their third reason is that creators like Odysee more. Now, if this was a couple of months ago back when Odysee first launched, I would have completely disagreed, because at the start of Odysee, it was basically a train wreck. I had no reason to actually use it because it was so slow, especially accessing things like your wallet. And if you can't access your wallet, everything else is going to be slower on the website. And if you tried to upload a video through Odysee, a lot of the time it would break in the middle of it, and it just wasn't a good experience. But since then, it has really, really improved. To the point where I would say it's basically as good as the desktop app, but by having people only upload through Odysee, this is going to create a serious problem for the network. So I mentioned that the videos are hosted in a very similar fashion to BitTorrent. So if people are only uploading through Odysee, they're not actually going to be seeding their videos. They're just going to be uploaded to the network, allowing other nodes on the network to actually seed it. Now, this is fine while the platform is small, but as the platform grows and grows and grows, seeding is going to become far, far more important. So I hope they come up with some way that the Odysee users actually can seed their videos, whether that be directly through the website itself or maybe even through a web extension. I think as things like live streaming video, transcoding video, scheduling get added into the Odysee client and the LBRY protocol, that creators are going to keep using Odysee more and more, and I do hope that this problem is addressed before it becomes a serious issue, because this is the thing that brings down a lot of video platforms. And their final reason is related to search performance. So on LBRY TV and Odysee, the search is very similar, but it does operate in a different way. So by having these two search algorithms working at the exact same time, you're pretty much just separating your resources and slowing them both down. Whereas if you go and consolidate all your resources and just focus on the Odysee search, the search performance is going to be considerably faster. And search isn't something that gets easier over time. As the platform continues to grow, there's going to need to be more and more resources put into making sure the search remains performant. Now, when you have a fully private search, it's very difficult to provide meaningful results. So when you use Odysee, you will have some level of data collected. If you don't like this, though, you can go and use the desktop app where it is opt-in. And this data can be used to actually improve the search performance. As of the recording of this video, LBRY TV is still operational, and they still do have the sign up button here, which they do plan to go and disable before they actually shut down the website. But when you actually visit LBRY TV, now you will see this warning right here telling you should be going and using something like Odysee.com instead. Besides the obvious reason of getting users to actually migrate to something like Odysee.com or the desktop app, there's another reason why the LBRY.TV website is still operational. So on LBRY TV, you actually can see adult content, but because Odysee is a direct YouTube competitor, this isn't actually available. So adult content is completely fine on the LBRY protocol and will always be available from the desktop application. I do expect it to stay this way, because otherwise you get into this very complicated legal area where you have a website that kids can access, but it also has pornography as well. And most countries aren't exactly a fan of that. Up until recently, Odysee has just shown videos from the LBRY protocol, even though it does support things like a blog post like this, or images, PDFs, any other sort of media format you could expect to see. Now, my expectation is that they'll just take the code from LBRY TV and then just bring it over to Odysee and just support all of those formats. I don't really see any reason to just not support them. One thing I would like to see, though, is have separate tabs where I can have my blogs, my images, and my videos. Now, if you're like me and have a bunch of old videos with links that point us to things like open.libry.com and LBRY.TV, all of those links will continue to work, except they'll just point the user to odyssey.com instead of LBRY.TV. So to wrap everything up, if you want the decentralized experience where LBRY Inc. has no control over what videos are being displayed to you, you can go and use LBRY Desktop, or going forward, the LBRY mobile app. And if you want to use the direct YouTube competitor where some things will be filtered out like adult content, or if you're in certain countries where some videos are legally not allowed to be shown, then you can go and use odyssey.com or the Odysee mobile app. Or you know what, you could even go and make your own client and provide some sort of different experience to access the LBRY protocol. Maybe you just want to have one that only displays text posts, for example. Personally, I think this is a really good change, and honestly, some sort of renaming like this should have been done a couple of years ago. I forgot to record this part when I was actually doing the video, so we're just going to do it now, and I don't feel like turning my lights back on. So, before I go, I would like to thank my supporters. A special thank you to Chris, Joachim, Donald, Michael, Andre, Nathan, David Montazar, Will, Brennan, Chico Bento, Jamie Joseph, Mitchell Pittity, Stephen Tony Tushar, and all of my $2 supporters. If you'd like to go support my work, the links down below to my Patreon, subscribe, star, leave a pay, all that sort of stuff. I've got my podcast, Tech Over Tea, available basically anywhere, and then this channel is available on Odysee and BitChute if you want to watch it somewhere that isn't YouTube. So I think that's pretty much everything for me, and I'm out.